Hello, everyone. My name is Leah, and my topic for today is climatology and meteorology. Now, to understand the difference between climatology and meteorology, we first need to know the difference between weather and climate. So, when we say weather, this is the condition of the atmosphere at a specific time and place. So, it also changes from hour to hour or day to day. For example, it can be sunny in the morning and rainy in the afternoon. Now, climate, on the other hand, it describes the usual weather in a place over a long time. For example, Baguio City is known to have a cooler climate than most parts of the Philippines. And our scientists study the atmosphere to better understand both weather and climate. And the two main fields that focus on these are climatology and meteorology. So, climatology studies long term climate patterns and climate change, while meteorology helps predict weather and provide early warnings for different weather conditions. Simply, we study climatology to prepare for the future climate, and we study meteorology to prepare for today's weather. Now, we will be discussing each topic separately. So, let's start with climatology. Again, climatology is the scientific study of climate, and climate refers to the average weather conditions of a place over a long period, usually at least 30 years. Climatology also looks at trends and averages. So instead of asking whether it's going to rain tomorrow or it will rain tomorrow, climatology would ask how much rain usually falls in a region during a particular month or season. Now, these are also the elements of climate. So we have temperature, the hotness or the coldness of the air. Precipitation is any form of water that falls from the clouds, like rain or snow. Humidity is the amount of water vapor present in the air. Air pressure is the weight of the atmosphere pressing down on the Earth's surface. Wind, the movement of the air from areas of high pressure to low pressure. And sunshine is the amount of sunlight received. Now, climatologists record these elements every day. By studying the data collected over many years, they can then identify the typical weather pattern of a place. And also, we have the different types of climate. So, the first one, tropical climate. So, these are places that are hot and humid throughout the year. And yes, the best example is the Philippines. Then we also have the dry or the arid climate. So these are the places that receive very little rainfall, like the Sahara Desert. And we have places with temperate climate. So these are the places that experience four seasons. Japan has a temperate climate in many of its regions. It experiences four distinct seasons like spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And continental climate, these are places that have warm summers and very cold winters, and they're usually far from the ocean. One example would be Canada. So much of Canada has a continental climate with snowy winters and warm summers. And polar climate, these are places that are extremely cold all year. So, for example, the Antarctica. And lastly, highland climate. So these are places that are cooler than the surrounding lowlands. And usually they are high above sea level. One best example would be Baguio. So Baguio has a highland climate. It is much cooler than nearby lowland cities because it is located in the mountains. And we will also be discussing climate change. So, climate change is the long term change in the Earth's usual patterns. It usually causes higher temperature or what we call global warming, stronger typhoons, droughts, floods, and even rising sea levels. And these are the main causes of climate change. We have cars and factories cutting down trees, farming and livestock. industries, landfills, and natural events. Natural events include volcanic eruptions, changes in the sun's energy, changes in the Earth's orbit, ocean currents, and even meteorite impacts. Now, if you noticed, the first five reasons or the first five causes actually are coming from human activities. And with that being said, these are the things, the little things that we can do to lessen the impact of climate change. So we can start saving electricity. We can also walk, bike, or use public transport to lessen the cars on the streets and lessen the emissions. Plant and protect trees. We can also start practicing reducing, reusing, and recycling. We can stop wasting food, use clean energy when possible, and even encourage others to take care of the environment. And one of the United Nations initiatives is also the Sustainable Development Goal 13. So, this calls for urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. It requires all countries to strengthen resilience against climate hazards, integrate climate measures into national policies, and mobilize significant financial resources for developing nations. Okay, and next topic is meteorology. So, meteorology, if you still remember, is the scientific study of the atmosphere and the weather. So, when we say weather, it describes the condition of the atmosphere at a specific time and place. It can change quickly from sunny to rainy within a few hours. Weather forecasting also involves collecting atmospheric data and using computer models to predict future weather conditions. Meteorologists gather data on temperature, air pressure, humidity, wind, and rainfall, and they use these information to predict future weather conditions such as the path of a typhoon or the chance of rain the next day. So if you're familiar with AccuWeather.com, that is one website for weather forecasting. So it can provide hourly forecasts, even up to 7 days, 10 days, actually. And we also have different types of weather systems. So, usually we hear these weather systems on the news. So, now let's define them. Number one, high pressure system. So, when we say high pressure system, the air is heavy and it sinks to the ground. Sinking air makes it hard for clouds to form, and that would mean that the weather would be sunny, dry, and calm. Now, when we say low pressure systems, the air is lighter and rises. And as it rises, it cools down. Water vapor turns into cloud and rain, and that would mean that the weather would be cloudy, rainy, or stormy. Then we have tropical cyclones, a powerful rotating storm that forms over warm oceans. Thunderstorms, a storm with thunder, lightning, and heavy rain. Tornadoes, a rapidly rotating column of air that extends from a thunderstorm. Monsoons, a seasonal wind pattern. Then we also have cold fronts. So, um, cold fronts would mean heavy rain, thunderstorms, and strong winds. So, this is the boundary where a cold air mass moves under a warm air mass. On the other hand, warm fronts, it is the boundary where a warm air mass moves over a cold air mass, and that would mean that we will have light to moderate rain, and we also have a warmer temperature. In conclusion, we study climatology and meteorology because of these items. So the first one is the Philippines is hit by many typhoons. Actually, the Philippines gets at least 20 tropical cyclones per year. So with climatology and meteorology, we can then study where the storms go and how strong they can be. Also, we can reduce the impact of disasters. So, heavy rain causes floods, and with climatology and meteorology, we can forecast if there is a need for evacuation early to reduce damage. It also helps our farmers to decide when to plant. And they also protect lives and property. So, they allow us or they help us make safe decisions before traveling. And also, they support important industries like aviation, shipping, tourism, construction, and also energy. So that concludes my report. I hope you've learned a lot, and thank you, everyone.